Hello and welcome into the Monday edition of the Boilermaker Lounge. I am Sam Springer, as always, joined by Grant Flora. Grant, how are we on this Monday?
We're doing pretty good. It's I don't know about you, but it's been really rainy in Indiana, or at least in Marion, Indiana, like pretty much nonstop clouds with a lot of rain these past few days. So that's been a little depressing, but outside of that, doing pretty good. I don't
I
know.
always, I
Not a whole
always
lot going
walk.
on.
I've got a big 6 foot privacy fence around my whole backyard. So I walk around it just to make sure everything's going okay. With the amount of rain that we've got, I squished the whole way through the backside of it all the way. So yeah, we're getting
Yeah.
it in Ohio too. So, we are still in the off season, as much as I hate to say that, but we do have a mixed bag of topics as such to talk about when it comes to the Boilermaker Lounge. Some portal news that we uh, it just came across Saturday, I think it was. Cam Heide commits to Texas, so he's going to be a Longhorn next year. It's sad to see him go, but I think he'll get an opportunity probably to get at least a shot at a starting position, at the very least more minutes coming off the Longhorn bench.
Yeah, I mean, Texas is a solid team. It's not like he's going somewhere where they can't win.
Right.
But it's definitely a spot that probably provides him more opportunities. So, yeah, I as much as I would have loved to have seen him stay at Purdue, I can't really be upset with this decision. I think it definitely has a chance to work out well for him. So, definitely wish him luck. I'll try and keep some watch on him next year as he plays for the Longhorns, but we'll see. Definitely an interesting commitment.
And as much as I love Miles Colvin, I saw an article that talked about 5 potential landing spots for him, and 4 of them I'm okay with. One, not at all, because it's in Bloomington, and I that was one of the 5 landing spots, and I'm like, no, no, no.
Yeah, I hope not either. I think that would be kind of crazy because he does have ties to Purdue outside of just the fact that he played there. Like
Right,
his
right.
sister played volleyball there, his dad played at Purdue,
His
right?
dad
I
was a
think for football.
stud,
Yeah.
stud. Yes.
So it would be pretty shocking to me if he went to IU, especially given the state of their program, even though Coach DeVries could come in and do some new things. Um, so yeah, I honestly don't think he'll go there, but I also really don't want to see him there because
No.
with his ability, yeah, he could burn. It would be really bad if he went and became a good piece for IU and ends up doing some damage to Purdue because of that. I don't want to see that potentially come to fruition.
Go to Xavier, go to Cincinnati, go somewhere. Any of the other 4, I don't remember the other 2, other than IU, and I'm just like, no, no, we can't. But I wish him well, I really do, and wherever he ends up, he's gonna do well. But just don't make it Bloomington. How about that?
Yeah, I agree.
But excuse me, with the portal, not a lot coming out of the Purdue camp. We did talk about before we started. There is a down period or a mandated. I don't even know what you would call it, but a period of no contact between coaches and their staffs and any potential portal players. Uh, it's the Monday of Final Four week, so the Monday before the Final Four, all the way through the championship game. So tonight, after the championship game tomorrow, then they can get back in contact. Coaches can be back in contact with players officially and formally. Um, so that's kind of, I'm guessing, why a little bit of the commitments, the daily commitments, we were seeing, you know, 40, 50 potentially commit one way or another to other schools or whatever, and we hit kind of a lull. And we were talking, there's also another couple weeks yet. 22nd is when the portal closes, so there's a lot of potential time for a lot to happen with Purdue going and coming, and anybody else in the Big Ten or in college basketball.
Yeah, I'm still relatively confident that Purdue's probably bringing back pretty much everybody else that hasn't already left for the portal. Um, I think the big names will probably stay. I think guys like CJ Cox, Shakari Harris, if they were gonna go, probably already would have made that decision.
I think so.
Um, but at the same time, I'm not gonna be able to sit here without like being a little bit nervous until April 22nd when the window closes. Like I'm just gonna be a little antsy until then. Once I know everybody's coming back, especially when everybody loves to talk about Braden Smith potentially hitting the portal. I don't see it happening, but at the same time, he could go anywhere he wanted to and probably make a lot of money. And whenever you have that option, it always can worry you. But again, I'm confident. We talked about this off air. Braden has benefited so much from Purdue. They have a chance to be really good next year. And it's not like he's not going to make anything at Purdue either. I mean, the
he's
fans
already
love
valued
him
at $1.9 million.
Yeah, like it's not like he's given up tons of cash just to win and lose out on all of that. So I don't see him leaving. But again, I'm not going to be able to rest easily as a fan until I know that window is closed.
Well, and I've told you this, and I've said, at least mentioned it. He is fiercely loyal from what I've been able to ascertain from my interactions with him, talking to him, and then also just kind of seeing his, knowing his story on how he made it to West Lafayette. And we all know that he wasn't highly sought after, and I think it chaps him. And he doesn't necessarily want to join the opposition. He wants to stick it to him. And I love that mentality of, I'm always going to strive to be better because everybody doubted me, and this is what I can do when I put my mind to it. And I think that he is fiercely loyal to where he's not going to the only way he leaves Purdue is if he's going to the NBA. That's really, honestly, I think the only way he leaves this year, or more likely next year.
Yeah, and again, I think he could have declared for the draft already. Like, to me, the fact that he hasn't yet says he probably isn't going to, or if he does, it's probably not going to end up with him going to the draft.
It'd be strictly for him to get evaluated and tested.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel really good about that. I also think that not only does he not want to go somewhere else for schools that didn't seek after him when he was a freshman, if he hadn't gone to Purdue, like, where would he be right now? Like, if he'd gone mid-major, like, there's no way he is the best point guard in the country, I don't think, if he goes to a mid-major, because he just wouldn't have that level of competition. And it's not that he maybe wouldn't be skilled enough to. It's just that no one would see what he's doing and value it as highly because he wouldn't play in the competition. To be at Purdue and then to get the opportunities, because when he came in, there really was no point guard. They'd lost all their main backcourt players. So Braden and Fletch came in, and they were the main guys right from the start. So to have those opportunities at Purdue and to be able to become one of the best players in the country, like, I think he is loyal, like you say, and wants to give back the program that helped him to get to where he's at.
Yeah, I agree. It's and you know what? That who's not to say come Tuesday morning something happens.
Yeah,
like you said, we don't know. But if I was a betting man, and I had to bet one way or another, that's how I would go. Is I just, having seen him start, like you said, as a freshman, being basically just given the keys to the car and said, you know what, we're riding and dying with you, and he for more times than not did exactly what we needed. Had some rough spots, but you know what? He's better for them. Last year, look what happened, and I think he got slighted on not being at least a finalist for the Cousey Award last year. He was left off the top 10 list. He wasn't even a finalist. So, I mean, he wasn't even a semifinalist. But this year, look at where he's gone from, in preseason Big Ten Player of the Year, All-American, postseason or regular season Player of the Year in the Big Ten, All-American, and he wins the Cousey Award this year as the nation's top point guard in college basketball.
Yeah, I love what Painter said last year when he didn't make the list. He was just like, well, anybody that doesn't think he's in a top 10 point guard is a team we're going to beat. So that's basically what he said. Because, like, if you don't think Braden Smith's a top 10 point guard, then you probably don't know enough about basketball to beat
Right.
Purdue. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, I can see where you're coming from. It was just a good way to say, like, yeah, Braden definitely should have been on there. And the fact that he got left off is crazy. But instead of just merely complaining about it, he just, I don't
Went
know.
and
I
proved
kind of
every
like the way he put that.
he kind of got he got the Zach Edey effect.
Yeah.
The in for the negative, and not even in a bad way, just the negative part of it of, okay, if you didn't have Zach Edey, how good would you be, kind of type thought. Um, us who covered and watched them game in and game out knew exactly how good he was. We also knew how bad he could be at times too, and he would tell you that. But to see that maturation while at Purdue and going through the criticisms of, as a freshman, he's the one of the main reasons why they lose to FDU. He lives with that on top of Zach Edey saying, like, look, we got beaten. I'm the National Player of the Year. We get beat in the first round. He had that personal vendetta he needed to write. Braden Smith just keeps on checking things off. He got slided off the Cousey Award semifinalist last year. He goes and wins the whole darn thing, and he was clearly one of the top 10 last year. It was just a mislabel, I guess.
Yeah, but certainly deserving this year. I mean, when you have a point guard that can pass as well as he can, I mean, just the way he manipulates the defense and just gets guys the basketball, especially given the fact, I mean, when you can pass to TKR, that's a great way to get assists because TKR is great at finishing around the rim. But at the same time, like, he probably should have had a lot more assists. He made some great passes to shooters and whatnot. The guys just didn't knock it down. And yeah, you can say that for about anybody, but like, still, he easily could have assisted more than he did, and he still broke records with his assists. So, and then from not just assisting, but being offensively as skilled as he is, yeah, he might not average 15, 20 points a game necessarily, and he might not have those crazy type numbers, but just the fact that you have to respect his offense just gives him the ability to pass more and just makes him such a well-rounded point guard that, yeah, that's the reason he's the best point guard in the country, is because of that combo of passing and manipulating the defense and also being able to just flat out score.
I want to say I heard somewhere he counted for like 32 points a game. That's amazing.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
I mean, he's there's days that he'll drop 20, but you know what? Every game he's going to account for at least 30 points a game roughly. I'll take it every day of the week, twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't even
what? Go ahead.
I was going to say, it doesn't even take into account his defense, his intangibles. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I want to put everybody on the Karl Malone watch list for next year because TKR is probably going to be the 4 all year long. He's not going to be forced to be a 5 and get lost in both of those semi-finalist and finalist lists. He's going to be on one or the other this year or this next year. And with Jacobson presumably going to be healthy and Oscar Clough coming in, we pretty much think that he's going to be the 4, which is the power forward. That's the Karl Malone one. He's going. Trey Kaufman-Renn, third team All-American this year. From his progression, he's gonna, if he progresses the same, and I think he's got that drive too, to where we wouldn't have seen that huge of an improvement from him leading up to this upcoming senior season. He improves somewhat. He's at least a second team All-American, if not a first team All-American, with Braden Smith as well.
Yeah, Purdue has 2 guys that are going to be, I mean, 2 returning All-Americans at this point, assuming there aren't any portal or draft exits. But they also, you have a guy in Fletcher Lawyer who has just been a steady. He's going to be a senior. Their experience next year is going to be off the chart. You talk about their game experience. These guys have played in a national championship game, made a Final Four. They've played in a Sweet 16 game against a Houston team. Like, that experience, even though they didn't make as deep of a run in the tournament, I think that experience will just be huge.
Oh, for sure.
And then the loss to a 16 seed too. So like they've been in the lows, they've been in the highs, and they still have one more year now to put it all together. It's going to be huge for this team. Draykoff and Ren, it's going to be really interesting to see how just with him playing the 4, okay, does he now get more opportunities, less opportunities because you have a guy like Oscar Clough and Daniel Jacobson on the opposite side? Maybe he doesn't average as much as what he did this season, but maybe he does because now it forces the defense to favor some of those guys more. It gives
They can't
him
double him as much.
right. They can't double him. They can't. If you're a 5, you talk about like teams that would play 4 out with one big guy in the paint. They're probably able to put that big guy on Draykoff and Ren to guard him. It's Caleb first. They didn't really have to worry about him from an offensive standpoint. Now you throw Oscar Clough in there or even Jacobson. Whoever your 5 is really has to guard them. If they don't, it's a mismatch and Purdue just swings it and goes there. Trey's going to be guarded by the 4, which is going to just make things so much easier for him to score. And I mean, he doesn't even need things to be easy, but if they are easy, it's even more automatic. So from that standpoint, he might have a chance to be even better next season from a numbers game. I think he'll be better either way, but from a numbers standpoint, he might even be better next season.
And I honestly can say this, that I've thought about it enough. I've made the statement to people, and I may have even said it on here, but the more I think about it, I really can see really valid arguments to each being on the Naismith Finalist Award and having legitimate chances, both of them, to being a potential player of the year next year.
Yeah,
both of them.
And
Both of them
that's
could.
crazy to say. Just have 2 national player candidates on a team because it just means they're splitting those opportunities and to still be there.
And maybe I'm way off base,
that.
but it just, with the way Braden Smith runs the offense, he can score, but he does so much in distribution and plays, defense, pesky defense, that he's an all around. TKR is a presence that is a low post guy that is just a dominant player in the post, and he can take him off the dribble. Not maybe as versatile as you would like to see, maybe, but he's a 4, and so he can take you off the dribble. Like, he could average 25 points and seven rebounds, and that's one whale of a season to where you're legitimately saying he could be the Naismith Award guy.
Yeah. Well, and Braden was a first-team All-American, but it wasn't because of his scoring. Like, he averaged 15.8 points a game. It's not bad, but, like, that doesn't make you a first-team All-American. It's the assists and the way that you play. I mean, 8.7 assists per game, and just the way that you manipulate defense and distribute, like you said, that's what makes him a first-team All-American. That's not going to go away at all next year. TKR can receive those passes and score, and that's how they both become candidates, is because TKR is the monster scorer. Braden Smith distributes, and both of those stat lines go up. They don't have to share opportunities or anything like that, and now they can both become in the conversation for National Player of the Year. So that's what really makes that possible, is the fact that Braden doesn't have to be a 20-point per game scorer to be in that conversation.
Braden Smith is an almost 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. That's an amazing ratio. It really is. It's an incredible ratio to, if you think throughout the whole season, for every one time he turned it over, he had 3 assists. That's a great number.
Playing 40 minutes a game. I mean,
40 minutes
talk about the fatigue that can come with that, and just the more you play and the greater your sample size is, the harder it is to maintain those averages. And so to do that when you're playing, you're not just playing every game, but you're playing all of every game, is really mind-blowing. And to look at the fact that he was very turnover prone when he was younger in his freshman and even a little bit of his sophomore season, to really flip that around and have that assist turnover ratio is beyond impressive.
Yeah, and this is not me. I mean, honestly, if I were handicapping the Boilermakers, TKR and Braden Smith for player, I would say Braden, in my mind, Braden would be the front runner of the 2, and TKR a dark horse. But you know what? Honestly, Braden Smith could make TKR, or give him the possibility of being the player of the year simply because he distributes it so well and gives him the opportunities too. Not that TKR can't get him himself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you have to go with Braden Smith over TKR at this point, just because Smith ended the season further up. Smith has the ability to score as well as pass. So, like, if he shoots the ball more consistently this season and gets more opportunities, because, yeah, the defense will be focused on him. But at the same time, when they're in late shot clock situations, last year, it was throw it down to Zach Edey. This year, they didn't have that opportunity. A lot of times, it was Braden Smith trying to make something happen on his own.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can get it back inside the paint. And if nothing else, Braden Smith probably gets more standstill threes this season because the defense starts collapsing on either Clough or TKR, and Smith gets those opportunities. And I don't know about you, but especially at the end of the season, I noticed Smith's shooting when he had standstill threes and in rhythm threes like that were a lot better than if he was coming up like on a dribble pull up.
Yep.
Not that he doesn't shoot well off dribble pull ups and sidestep fades or whatever, like he'll hit them, but he shoots so much better when he's spot on standstill three type of situation. So if he gets more of those opportunities next year, we're going to see his scoring numbers go up as well.
Yeah. And that's what makes it so exciting about the potential of what next year can come from, or what can come from next year because of these things. I mean, we're looking at already at the end of season now. Braden Smith's a Cousey Award winner, an All-American, Player of the Year in the Big Ten, and a Naismith finalist. That's an incredible career, and he's got one more season.
Yeah, I hope that, for one thing, I hope he stays healthy. Purdue has been very fortunate, I feel like, outside of Jacobson, obviously, but they've been very fortunate that their major players have stayed healthy these last few years.
Mm-hmm.
A Braden Smith injury this season would have completely blown up their season because he was so critical to everything they did. The few minutes that he didn't play, like when he had foul trouble or just had to sit for a few minutes just to get a little bit of rest, they were really tough minutes for Purdue, trying to find a different guy to run that offense. And so that's impressive for one thing, that he was able to stay healthy. But also I hope that just the wear and tear of things, sometimes you see these guys have great junior seasons and they come back senior year and they're not quite as sharp. I hope it doesn't happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Braden Smith is a player that will just keep getting better, and his mindset and his drive will keep that from happening. But it is possible. So again, it's just like we have all these high hopes. It's still possible that that with Smith something just goes wrong and it's not quite what we hope it is. But I really think that with the personnel Purdue has and the way that Painter coaches, we're gonna have a pretty insane season next year if personnel stays the same.
Yeah, and you also might think that the Daniel Jacobson injury might have even led to the fact that when Smith was off the court, they had really no identity of what to do. Maybe a bigger presence in there, it allows a Cox or whoever running the point when Smith's taking some time. That's a little easier of a dump down to a big dude, and I'm not saying that is it. That just it's another added little thing that, when you've got a big guy down low, it's easy to, hey, let's give Smith a couple minutes and okay, we'll run the offense through Jacobson, through that hub. Maybe that had a little bit to do with it too. I don't know.
And Cox and Harris being sophomores will be huge. Just another year of experience, handle the ball better, be stronger, and just physically more capable. Like, they could afford to play or to take Braden Smith out a few more minutes of what they usually do. Maybe he plays less 40-minute games because of that, like you said. So yeah, definitely.
I think it was Tom Izzo, but that said it. But you know what the best thing about freshmen are, right?
I want to hear what you say.
They become sophomores.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, there are a couple different things you could say here, but
they become sophomores. So like, and the big, and what and that was a joke, but at the same time, he said the biggest improvement you see from players at the college level is from what they were at the end of their freshman year to what they are at the beginning of their sophomore year. if they work hard, they can really develop and turn into something really huge and special. So that's something to really get excited about when you hear Cox and Harris both mention about what they have to do in the off season. Do drills until they can't do them any longer because they're just exhausted. Now we know what we have to do in the off season. Those types of comments. If they're going to put that work in, we're going to see some big jumps from those guys right there.
And they've done the hard parts and the difficult parts. They are
Mm-hmm.
good defenders now.
For sure.
DJ Cox was heating up those Houston guys in that Sweet 16 game. Jakari's done the same thing.
Big reason why they were in the game against Houston still.
Yeah. Yeah, they're already physically in a good place. Like they're relatively strong, they're quick. You can tell they're athletic players. They're good defensively. They have offensive game. They can shoot the basketball already. I think the areas he can get better in are just taking care of the ball, which comes with experience, mainly experience and just being able to do more. And then also just probably some offensive things, like especially Jakari Harris doesn't really create a lot for himself, but I think we've seen it. Like I think we saw a couple of plays in the postseason where he was able to drive the basketball a little bit more and do more. DJ Cox, we've seen it. It just needs to be more consistent. Like those types of things come when you play as a sophomore or junior as opposed to a freshman, and that just naturally kind of happened. As opposed to a guy like Fletcher Lawyer who has the offense but just doesn't have the build and the ability to be a great defender. It's always going to be a bit of a liability with him. DJ Cox and Jakari Harris don't have that problem. If they become great offensive weapons, they have the base as good defenders and good just all-around players to become just no liability and just really good producers for the backcourt.
Yeah, you hate to see, look too far down the road, but like in 2 years when Smith and Lawyer aren't there, we're going to have a good backcourt still. Taking into consideration they stay. Let's say it that way. I think their biggest a big thing for, some of the guards, especially with Cox. Smith's only here one more year. Smith and Lawyer are only here one more year, if he can stick around and develop and play under one of the best point guards and shooting guard combos that I've seen in a really, really long time, get one more year under them, and then you get to run the show then after that. It is an exciting future for what Purdue's got coming, taking for granted that we keep the main pieces in place.
And I feel like, again, CJ Cox, almost like Braden Smith, could be one of those guys that will stay at Purdue because of the loyalty situation.
Yeah.
Because he was really looking at Ivy League schools, but I don't think high major schools were really after him that much, at least not the caliber of Purdue. He goes to Purdue and really has been a success. Like, if he had the same type of opportunities as Smith and Lawyer did their freshman year, I think people would have been talking about CJ Cox as potentially all freshman Big Ten, at least as a really solid freshman, just to be able to score the basketball the way he can and defend. And then Jakari Harris too. Say Jakari and CJ Cox were 1 and 2 in the backcourt for Purdue in the starting roles this season. I think there would have been a lot more talk and attention on them, and it would have been pretty much positive.
Yeah. And would the season have come out differently? Yeah, because with Braden Smith running the point, there were a lot of wins that came our way that might not have in other situations. But you know what? I think we would have had a successful season. It just wouldn't have been to the extent that we had in the way that we got to the Sweet 16 and played a really, really great game against a final. They're playing in the national championship game tonight. So to play that well, it would have. It was a great season in my thought, but I mean, like you said, if they were in 1 and 2, if they were put into the situation that Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer were as freshmen as the starting backcourt, I think we would have had a successful season.
Yeah, and I guess that just shows what these guys can become, and I hope that. Again, I hope they stick around, and I hope that with increased minutes and increased opportunities, they continue to flourish accordingly because they certainly have the talent. And I really like those two players.
Oh, I love them, and yeah, they show a lot of flashes of really really just athletic, just basketball plays, and you can see as they mature and get older, they're going to have more strings of those put together to where all of a sudden they're both really extremely dangerous to play against, because they're going to light you up. They're both going to light you up on a night, you know. So it's definitely exciting to see what goes on next year, as well as a little bit down the road as well. So, well, Grant, that brings us to the end of the Monday edition of Boilermaker Lounge. Lot to talk about. I didn't know that we had that much to talk about, but I'm glad we did.
Yeah, no, it's when you start looking ahead, it's easy to find all these different ways that Purdue can be good, all these different ways that things can play out for the years ahead, and so it's always a fun conversation to have.
Yeah, we've been doing some reaching out, and we've got a couple of people that are on board for doing some Beyond the Rails segment episodes of the Boilermaker Lounge, talking to former Boilermakers and talk about their time while they were at West Lafayette, as well as what they're doing now, or how their professional career, not sporting professional necessarily, but professional career after being a Boilermaker, where that took them and kind of what they're doing now. So we've got those kind of in the works to get recorded. Then also we're gonna do some profiles of some seasons, some historic seasons from Purdue. Not necessarily their best seasons. Now there are some pretty darn good seasons in there, but we may look at some seasons that, you know, what would have been if type thing, or you know, every school's got them some down years. We can look at those and just kind of not relive and rehash, but you know, relive kind of some of those things to make us, I don't know, more appreciative. I don't know.
I mean, we've definitely been living in some glory days of Purdue basketball, but it wasn't always that way. So,
oh, for sure. I grew up in the '80s when IU was in the heart of IU country as a Purdue fan, dealing with IU fans that wouldn't let you live down that you were a Purdue fan. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. I'm a Cubs fan too, so that. All right. Well, Grant, thanks for coming in and joining me as always. But thanks so much, everybody, for coming in to the Boilermaker Lounge for Monday's edition. We'll be back on Friday to give probably some more portal news. I would imagine there will be some portal news, and we'll have some other things to chit-chat about. And but for Grant Flora, I'm Sam Sprunger. We'll see you on Friday.